It's the way Singapore wakes up. Wake up, Glenn, Angel, and the Flying Dutchman.
Wake up in the morning feeling like
Kiss 92's Big Show.
That's right, it's the way Singapore wakes up. So if you're watching us on TV right now, pump up the volume. It is Good Morning Doctor Day, and we welcome to the studio Dr Lau Leok Lim, Orthopaedic Surgeon from Gleneagles Hospital. Good morning, Dr Lau.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation, Glenn, FD, and Angel.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in this morning, Dr. Lau. We're going to be tackling a very important topic today, spinal issues, but especially in children and teens. So I think the first question is, why is it such a big issue these days in the kids?
Well, the kids nowadays are focusing on screen time. They watch TVs, they watch the podcasts, they watch phones.
Like they are right now watching us probably.
Yes,
on their phones.
Correct. So they use a lot of time to watch all these screens, and that sort of has increased their screen time. And they have what is considered text neck. That means that they keep their neck in the down position, look at the screen, and this may put their neck in the odd position, which increase their risk of having neck issues down the road.
So it's not a TV problem, it's a device problem, right?
Yes, indeed it is.
Yeah.
So
Making down positional issues.
I was having a discussion with both Angel and FD because, I mean, they have children.
Yeah.
I don't. And somehow they're monitoring children these days as well, right? I don't. So they suspect that it's because of...
Also because
Also because of the weight of the books that the kids,
school bags,
take to school. Is that a factor, you think?
Well, school bag wise, I think the key consideration in here is the weight of the school bag.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's too heavy. It's not going to be good for spinal health.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, anything more than 30% of the body weight of the child is not recommended. So if it's less than 30%, it's not an issue at all. Of course, if it is less than 10%, they can carry the bags in any way they like.
Yeah.
Right.
But once it goes up to about 20%, you should be using an ergonomic bag.
Yeah.
you have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old.
A 10 and a 12.
I beg your
10
pardon,
and
10 and a 12-year-old. Are their bags too heavy?
Well, I mentioned a bag before.
Oh, you do.
Okay.
Okay.
I did. So they use an ergonomic bag in order to lessen the load. It keep to around 20-30% of the body weight.
Wow. Okay.
But they also use the additional bag, like a tote bag,
So
in
there
order
are
to
two
shift
bags.
the loads. They do have two bags.
Two bags.
Two bags to go to school.
To go
So,
to school.
this is the
Wow.
fault of the Ministry of Education already.
Well, like I mentioned, AD, as long as less than 30%, it should be all right.
Because not many people say can afford an ergonomic bag.
Yeah.
Because those bags cost a little bit more. A lot more thought I go into it. And then to have to carry two bags to school, I think it's...
No, I think it's ridiculous.
I think it's
I
ridiculous.
thought I thought we're supposed to go kind of paperless these
Well,
days.
I think a lot of primary schools don't. They haven't gone that way yet. Secondary schools are going that
We
way.
are.
Well, I
in
mean,
a
we've got
digital
Kindle,
age,
you got
though.
Kobo, and all that. Why can't they have a device that they provide the
They do.
kids
They're
in
called
school
iPads.
with?
Well, schools.
No, I don't want to mention iPads
Right.
because
Yeah, no, but
Tablets.
schools, secondary schools now use Chromebooks.
Okay, yeah, so you don't have to bring your textbooks to school
But this
anymore.
is primary schools.
Oh,
It's in the primary schools that I feel so much damage is done to the child's
this
spine.
is you.
Yeah,
Really?
I do.
Does the doctor agree with you or not? That's
Our
another story
orthopedic
again
surgeon,
altogether.
Well, I think that the books itself is still good because a lot of kids are distracted when they use the electronic devices.
Okay, fair enough.
And they may be listening to the lectures, but their hearts are somewhere else.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue to talk to the doctor on the Big Show TV, and we'll find out what some of the common types of spinal issues are.
Yeah.
Meantime, here's John Cook standing next to you on Kiss 92. Okay.
Yeah, this topic is very, it's very close to my heart because my daughter, after her PSLEs, went for an operation and she actually had to have rods put in her back to straighten her spine
Right,
because her curvature was really bad.
right.
So this topic is really very, very close to me. And I stand by the fact that it may be getting better today, but back in the day, it was really bad. School books and the weights children used to carry. As you said, even your kids carry 2 bags to school.
Well, I think if you're referring to scoliosis and
Yeah.
school bags, people did research on this topic, and it's probably not caused by the school bag.
What would cause it
okay.
then?
Now, scoliosis is a condition is considered a growing disorder. The spine expanded rapidly during the adolescent period. The spine expanded, they get taller. Yeah, as they get expanded, it must be even expansion.
Right.
In a patient with scoliosis, the expansion of the spine is not even. No, with this
Right.
unevenness, it generates a curve. So often they would have family history as well in some of the children.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And what are the
Interesting.
other type of common spinal issues that we see?
While the other common condition is back pain, neck pain, and also kyphosis, postural kyphosis. Yeah, so these are the common reason that the parents will bring their kids to see us.
What's the last one you mentioned?
Postural kyphosis.
So what is that? Can
Well,
you explain it?
essentially, is a concern by parents about the spinal positioning of the child. They are hunchback, and they are worried whether this child will become essentially in hunchback position for life. In fact, a lot of time these are all postural kyphosis, which means that the child is having a habitual issues of not straightening the spine up, right? So,
Right.
and often it's linked to their sedentary lifestyle. They are not active. They are usually not doing much of sports. And often in these situations, what we do is that we encourage the parents to bring the kids out under the sun, at least spend 30 minutes under the sun, and do some exercises.
You know, we see a lot of, at least I see it on social media, there are a lot of these ads there are these straps that you put on that sort of lift
Pull
your
the
shoulders,
shoulders back.
and give you that upright posture. Do those things actually work?
Well, we don't think
With
so.
children?
I think the main issue, as I mentioned early on, is that the children nowadays, they are not using their core muscles. Core muscle building is very important. We encourage them to do core muscle training, either by doing swimming, running, planking. All this will be helpful to build the muscle around the spine.
Okay.
Now, once the spine in a better position and is stronger, they tend to keep the spine in a better position.
That's a very, very funny thing that you mentioned, the strap thing.
I've seen the
Yeah.
You know why? You know who's selling all those things? The chiropractors.
Are they really?
Yes,
Hey.
it's true. It's
Okay.
true.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I remember.
I've seen it on social media. I didn't know chiropractors.
Yeah, I know.
are selling
This
it.
friend of mine, he also bought it. I said, why are you using this? Oh, my chiropractor asked me to get it.
Well, I think it's more. It's not so much something to fix you, but it's just to hold you back to get used to that position more than anything else, right?
Perhaps it can serve as a reminder,
Yeah.
right? But to use it to change your position,
It won't happen.
It probably won't happen.
Because when we were younger, I remember they used to put rulers in the back.
Yeah.
You know, to
Yeah.
keep your back straight before all these things were invented.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they would put.
Yeah. I was telling the
across.
guy, I'm like, you know what I mean? Women, they wear brassieres because they have to wear a brassiere.
Yeah.
You don't have to wear something like that. Now you have a brassiere on. It's like,
So, doctor, how important is having good posture?
I think it's important because as long as having good posture, the spine transmission of the loads will be more even. Bear in mind that spine itself is like a column, and this column is not a perfect column, right? It provides a stability, and at the same time, there's also flexibility component to it. That means that in the spine, you have a bone and a bone, and bone, you actually have something soft called intervertebral disc. The disc itself is a structure that does not cell regenerate once you damage it.
Oh.
And once the load is not equal, much like what I tell my patient usually, it's like, you know, when you're walking around with your shoes, if you tiptoe, the forces will be much greater in the front of the shoes.
Like heels, like wearing heels.
Yeah, and essentially, the outsole of the shoes get wore out much faster in the front. If you use it normally, evenly, it lasts much longer.
right.
So same with the spine as well. If you're in a better position, they are harmonious, the load is even, it lasts much longer.
So can I just ask you something? Since you mentioned, the toe part of the shoe and all that, one thing that came to mind is ballet. Now, for kids who are taking up ballet, could that affect their posture, their spine as well? I mean, what are the injuries that they would be more prone?
I think two aspects of ballet. I think ballet is good because it's
For
a form
posture.
of exercise.
Yeah.
And they have been trained to do core muscle training,
Yeah.
stretches. I think stretches and core muscles are the two main part in the spinal health, right? You have to do stretches, you must make sure core muscles strong. But for ballet, certain kids, in fact, they are not so flexible. They are born as such, not flexible. Some kids are very flexible. And if you are not so flexible and you force your way out, there's a risk of injury. This condition is called spondylolysis. When they're arcing backwards a lot, the spine may actually generate a fracture. And this fracture is not something that happens suddenly. It's a gradual process. Much like a piece of paper, you fold and unfold many times. You can tear it easily.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
So
okay.
that's even kids who take up gymnastics, they are also prone to that
Exactly.
as well. Okay, let's go for a traffic update and then we'll be back on the radio.
Kiss 92 traffic.
On the PIE towards Tuas after the Simei Road exit, look out for a broken down vehicle. Also on the ECP towards the airport, an accident has been spotted right after Bayshore. If you spot anything else, our WhatsApp number is 88550920.
Good morning and welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guest for this morning on Good Morning Doctor is Dr. Lau Leok Lim, Orthopaedic Surgeon from Gleneagles Hospital. We've been touching on a few things on The Big Show TV, the common types of spinal issues in Singapore, and we've also kind of established that it's not really the fault of the, the number of books in the school bag, which causes some spinal issues
As long
in
as we keep
children.
it to within a certain percentage.
And I think, a lot of parents have been talking about this. Maybe should stop talking about this because it then, puts the whole blame on the Ministry of Education, which, is should not be the case.
I think 30% of anybody's body weight is quite heavy, you know.
Oh, so
Very-
they're still very adamant.
No, absolutely.
Like a
very
lot of
adamant.
I'm very adamant about
Doctor already said, don't, that is not really the case.
Okay, carry on.
Anyway,
FD.
question. You were explaining the spine as being bone, and disc in between. And we were talking about how sedentary kids are these days. I just suffered from a slip disc. Can kids develop that kind of condition when they're young? Slip discs and things like that?
Yeah, slip discs in children are not so common. The peak age is often around 30s.
Okay, so it doesn't happen in kids.
It happens, but not so common. And once they get it, however, it tends to be more severe. And it tends to lead up to surgery, as opposed to in a older person. The reason is simply because the bone and bone they have disc, the disc itself is actually quite healthy. And once it slip out of position, your body can't absorb that so easily.
Right.
So as we grow older, we need to really take care of ourselves, right? Because he just had a slip disc
Yeah.
at the age of 68. So does it mean it's a wonder barbecue?
Because I had to go for an operation.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, once you have the condition such as this, it's important, again, to go back to what I mentioned earlier on, is to build the muscle around the spine, the core training, and stretchability will give you more reserve, such that if the pain comes back, as people with slip disc, they get buttock pain, thigh pain, calf pain, often call sciatica symptoms.
Yeah.
And this stretchability will help to reduce that symptoms if it did recur.
Okay. Speaking of exercising, you're talking about core exercise and posture. Glenn brought up ballet earlier. I see ballet as a really good form of exercise because, like you said, it promotes good posture. It's for flexibility and all that. I think it's bad for the feet if
The
there's
toes
anything.
especially.
The toes, the feet, in general, because they're
Ugly
really
toes.
hammered, right? But things like yoga, Pilates, can you recommend those sort of exercises to be good for posture?
I think in general, when you do exercise, you shouldn't go overboard, right? So when in pain, that may be a signal to yourself that you are doing too much. And I think the extreme range of movement often is not good, right? So while you're pushing the limit, it's important to realize that once you stretch the limit, there's a higher tendency of tissue injury as a result.
So know your body, basically.
Correct. So you need to know how much you can go. And also at the same time, there are certain form of exercises we call isometric exercise. They are more, in general, less risk of injury.
No weights,
So,
yeah.
for example, in plank, you are in an isometric position. The muscle itself is engaged. They are not lengthened. They are not shortened. And you can build the muscle gradually in this way.
Oh,
And
right, okay.
Again, you're not moving your disc. You're not
Yeah.
moving your spine. So that is more essentially less harmful in the body, and while at the same time build up the muscles.
Actually, there are
Okay.
very simple exercises that one can actually do at home that is safe and effective.
Using your own
But
body weight as well.
Using your
yeah.
own body weight. Because I feel like
Exactly.
there are a lot of places these days that people go to because they want to push themselves to the limit. And they tend to overdo it, and they sustain injuries and stuff like that. Do you think people are actually overdoing it these days, doctor? I mean, I'm sure you have many patients who have sports injuries.
Yeah, so you have a lot of weekend warrior
Yeah.
who otherwise do not exercise, and I think it's important not to go overboard. I mentioned earlier, and mentioning about going to gym and all these places. Group exercises are good, so sort of encourage you to join in, and you build a discipline around it. So when you do it on your own, again, you have to have a very strong self-discipline, which sometimes not easy.
Yeah, because you have all these classes where like you're motivated, but then you go
Yeah.
beyond what you can do because everyone else is doing it.
And many
right?
of them are working out although they're injured as well. So that is a recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah, so I remember that there are people who are really like to do sports, especially competitive sports, and their injury, they come and see us, and we ask them to stop. In fact, they are quite reluctant. So I think be sensible is important. That means that once you're in pain, you may have to stop, let the tissue heal before you restart again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because nothing is worse than sustaining a long-term injury.
Absolutely.
We have a question on our Facebook page, which is quite interesting. We'll come back and ask the question in a moment.
All right, it's 8:22.
Kiss 92 Time Check brought to you by
All right, questions from our
Okay. You know,
viewers.
this was noticed because of what we were doing. We talk of posture and we all do this,
Yeah.
correct? But there's also the hips. So what is good standing posture and what is good sitting posture? Because I know I have bad standing posture. My hips tend to throw forward.
Yeah, I think the key part in here is to understand that there's no such thing as a good position, right? So,
Okay.
In general, your head must be over the pelvis. Your ear hole must be aligned with the body. That is harmonious.
Okay.
And you do not want to fix yourself in the same position for too long, because you're loading that position for too long. It will be tends to be more injury.
Okay.
You want to shift that load around the spine.
Yeah.
So you can vary the posture a little bit. That means that it can be upright, and it can go down a little bit this way. You can adjust it accordingly, and you can lean backwards. Speaking of this, it's important to also realize that sitting, standing, there are actually a difference in terms of discal pressure, the pressure on the disc.
Yeah.
In fact, standing, the discal pressure is less compared
Yeah.
to sitting.
Yeah, because you
So
can feel the
sitting,
weight.
you also have to realize that sitting in this position, for example, the pressure is high, but you lean forward, it will be even higher.
Higher, yes. I've
So
noticed.
FD has got discal problem. The
Yeah.
most common area is at L4-5,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
that's the most common. And you lean forward, the pressure is super high.
Super high.
So you want to avoid that as much as you can. And if you lean backward, it will be much helpful.
Hey,
Okay.
so you're always leaning forward is because you feel what a relief.
No,
when
because
you
Leaning
lean
forward is worse.
I
No,
tend
I know,
I
but
kick
he's
my
doing
I
it.
kick my chair in now. I used to do this,
Right, okay.
Yeah, but the
and
doctor
when
said,
I do it now, I can feel that pressure.
yeah, but why are you in this position then? So he should be leaning back a little bit
I could,
more. Is
but,
it, doctor?
but with
Lean-
microphones you can't.
Leaning backwards a little bit, you lower down the pressure.
Yeah.
Then again, sitting, like I mentioned, again, in general, the pressure is going to be high. So you want to vary your posture from
Yeah.
sitting to standing. and
What
standing to
about
sitting.
what about crossing our legs and crossing our ankles? Does that affect
The hips.
the hips? And
Yeah, some people thought so, but I think anecdotally, I have some reservation about that.
Okay, Doctor, we were talking about children's school bags earlier. Then you went on to talking about high heels versus flat shoes and stuff like that. What about carrying handbags and bags as an adult? Because, like for me, I carry my bag on my left all the time. should we be varying it? I mean, does it affect the posture or the structure of the spine?
As long as you keep it to less than 10% of body weight,
10%.
you can carry any way you like.
Let me
Generally
see.
speaking,
Hey,
your
let me
body
check.
can handle it.
But then I have my water
feel.
bottle inside. So wait.
Wow, you put the water bottle inside and that's it.
No,
lah.
but
now there's no water in the water bottle.
It needs
There
to
is
be
water.
real.
It's quite heavy.
It
I
needs
think
to be real.
this is about maybe 5 kilos or 4 kilos.
Okay, so it's still okay.
It's still okay.
Because clearly I'm not that weight.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything less than 10%. But
Yes.
should we be shifting from shoulder to shoulder or keeping it on one shoulder is okay?
Like I mentioned already, as long as less than 10%, you
It's fine.
tend to be able to keep yourself in upright position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about mattresses that we sleep on,
Good question.
especially children?
Yeah, I think children, they are flexible. They can mold to the shape of the mattress quite easily. And either it's soft or it's hard. It doesn't quite matter as much. But of course, they find comfort in a soft mattress. But as a person age, a hard mattress often is more useful. It gives more support. The spine is less flexible, and therefore you need that support.
But shouldn't
Doctor,
children... Yeah, cannot carry on.
No, I feel like for us guys, right, because we've been to the army and all that, we can sleep on the floor, we can sleep on hard mattresses, soft mattresses, and stuff like that. Do you, for example, have an issue, let's say, sleeping on a soft mattress as compared to something firmer?
I think it's all dependent on the age. As you get older, like I mentioned, most people would prefer something harder.
Really?
Yeah.
But for kids,
So
I
that
mean...
means that you're probably still young.
there you go.
I don't know. My
Because my-
mattress is not super soft. It's medium. You know, I've used it for many years. So
Mine's relatively hard.
Mine is firm. It's not
It's
like
firm,
it's
yeah.
not it's not like a futon, you know.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's got a bit of a bounce
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
But for children, I mean, because their bodies are developing,
Yes.
shouldn't we give them the best kind of mattress possible? I mean, would that soft? I don't know. I'm not an expert. I mean, you're here to answer those questions. But soft, I feel, doesn't allow the body to and the bones to really form nicely because you sleep for so many hours a day, right?
Well, the kids, they hardly sleep in the same position and wake up in the same position. They move around. Right.
So it
Comfort
doesn't
is more
really-
important. Doesn't quite matter because as
Okay.
you lie down, the pressure on the disc is very low.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, if you think about it, it's true. Like when I was growing up, when I was a kid, my parents didn't have much money.
Yeah.
So we just go to the
cheapest-
shop and you get like very cheap mattresses.
foldable
We all sleep on that
mattresses,
cheap
yeah.
mattress. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But these days, parents spoil their kids.
Yeah, and
like
they want the
what
best,
you mentioned,
right?
The best, and you need to get them the best and all that. But it's a good thing that the kids at that age can more or less sleep on anything.
And now the choices are so much more.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
in terms of economical savings and stuff like that, you're able to get better quality and a wider variety of, say, mattresses and stuff like that nowadays. Yeah. Yeah.
I say give them the cheapest things, the kids. No matter how much
Toughen
you
them up,
have.
yeah.
Then, if not, wow, they'll be really high maintenance.
No, it's
you know.
true. It's true. So, doctor, what kind of exercises can parents or even schools do, or methods to ensure that kids practice good posture?
It goes back to core muscle training. So I think, generally speaking, there are 3 forms of exercises. One is to develop a stretchability. That means pull your hamstrings. That would be very helpful. The core muscle I mentioned earlier too, things like planking. And when we ask the patient to do planking, we also want to have a target. That target is to build the endurance of the core muscles, right? So it's not just doing it; it's with the target. And that target is to able to do it 3 minutes plank.
Oh, wow.
3 minutes.
I
wow.
2 minutes already, I'm like, wow.
I'm a 1 minute so
So
far.
you're still a distance to go.
Yeah, man.
So that means that there's a target there. You try to hit towards that target.
3 minutes.
And with time, again, not pushing yourself too hard.
Okay, can you quickly bring the yoga mat back and then we can start planking
Sure,
for 3
sure.
minutes? Yeah.
Aziz, are you watching? My personal trainer is watching. So he makes me do 2 minutes before we actually start training. I thought
Yeah.
2 minutes was already hard, man. Wow, 3 minutes. Okay, that's the target now. 3 minutes.
3 minutes for me as well. Okay. What about as we get older? How severe can spinal issues get? I mean, we've seen
You've seen me.
an example with FD.
Yeah.
I think he left. I don't know if you left it for a while, didn't you?
I did. I left it for way too long.
So what do you have to say about that?
Again, depending on the age group, right? So if you are in the middle age versus old age is different. right? So if you are someone who's elderly, right, so they are more prone to osteoporosis, especially for women after the menopausal age. So what it means is that the bone itself, essentially it becomes softened and it's prone to kyphosis, fracture of the bone.
So can exercise help with that, or more what you eat?
I think it's important to have a high vitamin D.
Vitamin D, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of nowadays people are all indoor. They run away from
The sun.
and they put on sunscreen. So once you put a sunscreen of SPF more than 17, it blocks the sun away from the skin to produce enough vitamin D.
But it's okay to get the vitamin D through your body and all that, because I put sunblock only on my face.
She cannot.
She's
She's
my face, but
yeah.
my body I don't mind getting the vitamin D, so it doesn't matter where it gets absorbed, right?
Yeah, I think the surface area is important.
Okay, so body is fine then.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
need a bigger surface area
Okay.
to expose under the sun in order to make vitamin D. Now,
Right.
vitamin D is a carrier, bring calcium into the body. So we did a study among children.
Okay, hold on,
children.
doctor.
I think
we'll
I'll
talk
ask
about
you
that
that
study
question
on air.
again. Yeah.
One last
That's
talk
very
set.
interesting.
Wow, I need to suntan in the nude already.
Glenn Ong.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Okay, taking a look at what's happening on the roads. On the PIE towards the airport after the BKE, a vehicle's broken down. Also on the PIE, but in the opposite direction towards Tuas. After Simei Road's exit, another vehicle's having trouble there. Wherever you are this morning, stay safe.
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. It is Good Morning Doctor Day, and we've been talking to Dr. Lau Leok Lim, who is an orthopedic surgeon from Gleneagles Hospital, and it's been very enlightening, Doctor.
Very.
Yeah, so, Doctor, we were talking on the Big Show TV about how severe spinal issues can get as one gets older. And you mentioned, depending on the age group, especially in women, about postmenopausal age, osteoporosis is very common. And getting vitamin D is essential for absorbing calcium. So, my first thought when you mention osteoporosis, and all the advertisements tell us, is to get more calcium. But you mentioned getting more vitamin D. Can you explain that part?
Yeah, so we did a study on all the children that I seen, and I essentially checked their vitamin D levels, and that would be easily more than 100 patients. About 30% will have a super low vitamin D level, and that 30% has insufficient vitamin D level. And then the last 30% is normal.
60% don't get enough vitamin D.
You know what? Their parents protect them, what?
Can't go out.
Can't go in the sun. It's too hot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they don't realize, especially for the boys, one day they will have to go to the army and be exposed to the sun. So
Point.
sometimes when there's less exposure growing up, later on, if there is a little bit more exposure, sometimes there's an allergic reaction as
reaction,
well. Right?
yeah. But can you talk about the correlation between vitamin D and calcium?
Yeah, so vitamin D is an important element to absorb calcium. You can
Okay.
take all the calcium you like, but you need vitamin D to bring them into the body.
Oh, so even though you're drinking a lot of milk, but you're not getting your vitamin D, there's no point
Well, so
there.
in the milk they have calcium.
Yeah.
They also have small amount of vitamin D.
Oh, right, okay.
It may not be sufficient. So having, well, maybe not too much sun exposure, but enough sun exposure is helpful.
Okay.
Nowadays, people don't even drink milk anymore, doctor.
Yeah. No, but a lot of even your plant-based milks and
Yeah,
all that,
they
they
have.
have fortified milks with calcium. Or
Yeah.
you can take supplements or get it through your food.
Yeah.
There's lots of calcium sources.
Okay. No protein, but less calcium in those other alternatives. Okay, doctor, before we let you go, would you like to say anything to the Singaporeans tuned in right now with regard to taking care of one's spine?
Well, I think it's important to do exercises regularly, go under the sun, and exercises I mentioned, there are three types. One is stretchability, the other one is core muscle training for the spine, and the last one, of course, is aerobic exercises. And these three forms of exercises are important to maintain the spinal health.
Okay.
Okay, great.
3 minutes of planking a day.
Oh my gosh,
That is
I'm
the
off.
target.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's the target.
But baby steps, do it slowly.
Yeah,
Eventually,
yeah.
you'll get there.
You can't really get that injured doing planking.
No, you can't.
Anyway.
No.
Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Lau, for joining us today. It's been wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to The Big Show's Good Morning Doctor.
All right, we are back. And we have our second guest. This is part of Her World, Her Spark, and her name is Karen. Karen Tan, co-founder of the Projector. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
One of my favorite spaces, and these two guys have never been to
I've
the
never been.
Projector.
Oh my God, that's a travesty.
Isn't it terrible?
Yes, you guys.
When did the Projector
Where
open
have you
at Golden Mile?
Actually, we are coming up to our 10th anniversary next January.
Yeah.
So we've been around for 9 years now.
9
Yes, and
years.
both of you haven't
9
been?
years.
This is terrible. I feel
It's
what have I been doing?
Such a nostalgic space. Like I have to admit, I've not been to watch a movie, but I've been for a couple of events.
That's
and
great.
already you get the feel of it, the old school sort of bar in the front and then the seats and all that. So what was the inspiration behind opening the Projector? Let's go back to the start.
Right. So previously, we were basically looking at adaptive reuse of old buildings. That was kind of like we were doing projects like that. And then one day we stumbled upon a disused vintage cinema space in Golden Mile Tower on Beach Road. And it was like walking back in time because the seats were from the 1970s. These were the original seats. The space was really just intact, and so we just restored the seats and we put in a bar in the front, and then away we went. And we
guys
started
should
the whole
go.
thing with a crowdfunding campaign back then.
You know,
Oh, wow, okay.
I remember old cinemas. Like, you
Yeah.
know, growing up, like in school, I used to live in the East. There was like Odeon Katong.
That's right.
There was Roxy.
Roxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Roxy. And there was Palace Cinema as well.
I don't remember
There was
Palace.
Republic Cinema in Marine Parade.
Parade, yes.
Liberty Theatre. So these are all the older type of cinemas. And that cinema at Golden Mile Tower was
What was
an
it before?
Eng Hwa theatre.
Was it
I think it was
back
Eng
in the
It was
day.
actually overseas movie back then.
Okay.
It was called
Yeah.
Overseas Movie?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the theatre was called Golden Theatre.
Golden
yeah.
Theatre,
Golden Theatre.
that's
There you go.
right. I remember that.
Okay, let's go back
let's
on
go
air.
We'll probably have to ask you,
Again.
Yeah.
about the beginnings once again.
Going back to the corner where I first saw you. Gonna camp in my sleeping bag. I'm not gonna move.
Kiss 92 traffic.
On the CTE towards the AYE, an accident has been spotted after the PIE Changi exit. Also look out on the SLE. This is in the direction of the CTE. Another accident after Mandai Avenue's exit. Avoid the rightmost lane. And finally on the PIE heading east to the airport after Jalan Anak Bukit, look out for a vehicle having trouble there. If you spot anything, our number is 88550920.
Good morning and welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our second guest on the show is the co-founder of the Projector. We welcome Karen Tan. Good morning, Karen.
Hello, hi there.
Good
Thanks for having
morning.
me.
Thanks for coming in. Yeah, so Karen Tan, you're here under the series for Her World, Her Spark. And we were talking a little bit on the Big Show TV about the Projector. And you're about to celebrate your 10th anniversary next year. What inspired you to even start the Projector?
Oh my god. So, when we came upon this disused, vintage cinema with everything intact, we just thought, this was an unusual space and an opportunity to do something really different with it back then. And we felt that, at that point in time, there wasn't a alternative cultural film, indie cinema space. And so we thought, let's give it a go. Back then, we don't come from a film background, not at all. And we couldn't find anyone to run it for us. So in this blend of youth and naivete, we just thought, we'll do it ourselves. 9 years on, it's like, oh my God. But yeah, no, it's been a wonderful journey. We started off with a crowdfunding campaign back then. And, it's grown from strength to strength in some sense, because I think for us, it was to kind of create a space that was not your average cinema.
So the aim was to bring the indie film to the Singapore public.
Yes, that's right. We just felt like, we had to offer an alternative to, all the kind of what the big boys were showing. And then one thing led to another, and we started asking ourselves, I think from day one, we wanted to create a space that was inclusive and kind of more relaxed and, go with the flow a little bit, and where people can come as you are and feel at home. And and so it was from day one, let's be inclusive and diverse. And so we've shown everything from foreign films to documentaries to animation. And then also we moved beyond film into live performances. So we have comedy nights, we've got poetry slams. We've hosted pole dancing competitions, wrestling, cat adoption drives. So for us, it's kind of the wackier the better.
Right.
It's it really is a space where we want it to feel like a community space, and people can come and be inspired to do stuff.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age where everyone's glued to their screens, we feel that having a space like this is more important than ever.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
if you-
your spark was because of cinema, wasn't it?
Kind of a blend of everything.
Okay.
We just felt that I felt that we just needed an alternative space.
Yeah. If you grew up in the 70s or the 80s, I mean, this is the type of cinema that would be very nostalgic.
Right.
Just taking the lift up.
Yeah.
Just walking up those stairs of Golden Mile Tower, it's so back in the day.
Does it still have that smell?
It has the
smell of an old cinema. I mean, it's part and parcel
It
of it.
smells
part
like
of-
an old cinema. To me, I think it smells like an old cinema, which is not a bad thing.
No,
Yeah,
that's
it's not a
important.
bad thing.
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old building. And it comes with its share of quirks, should we say? But it's when the lift doors open, it's really an unexpected
It
thing.
is.
We've got a little cozy bar in the front, so it's a place for people to also hang out as well.
When you mentioned Golden Cinema just now, then that rang a bell.
Rang a bell.
Yeah.
Right? Because Golden Cinema, I remember when Singapore first introduced RA movies.
That's right.
They were screening quite a few RA movies there, and I was too young to go. I was
And-
like, Why?
Too
Why
young.
can't I? Why can't I check it out?
And you would see the posters as your car would go
Yes.
past on
Yes.
Beach Road,
On
on Nickel Highway,
Nickel Highway.
on the back, and you would look
The
and
posters
go,
were all
oh my
painted."
goodness,
Yeah.
that entrance there from Nickel Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's that? Is that Amy? Yep.
La la.
Okay, let's go back on the Big Show TV and chat with Karen. Here's Pink with Blow Me on Kiss 92. Blow me, one last kiss.
I know. I didn't want to make the reference.
Yes, don't.
Okay, so
Brilliant. That just came right after you
I
mentioned
know,
Amy Yip
right?
as well.
It was
so,
perfect.
It's
It
too
was
late.
perfect
I'm like,
timing.
Pink.
You couldn't have
it
planned it
had to be
better.
this song.
That was brilliant. You said that when you started this, you were not cinema people. It was something you wanted to. What kind of challenges did you face? How did you get the movies in?
Yeah, so we worked with people in the cinema industry that had experience like bringing films in, and at the moment we work with the usual big distributors, but also with some of the smaller independent distributors in Singapore as well that bring independent films in.
Right.
Yeah, and so we'd like to kind of like support that ecosystem.
Right. Right.
As well.
in a space of blockbusters and Pixar animation, Disney animation, all the big stuff that bring the big bucks in. How hard is it to convince an audience to come in and watch an indie? I mean, is there a big market for it? I mean, are there a lot of people looking for alternative movies?
Is there a big market? Don't know, probably not. I mean, that's the reason why they're called independent and alternative and non-mainstream. But it's a growing. We see it's also a growing market as well. I mean, the younger generation are a lot more curious in terms of cultural consumption, and so we've been around a while now. So we get people going, when I was a student, I never knew there was all this other films to watch, until I came to the projector, and then and now as an adult, I do XYZ. So I think there's a certain element of growing your own audience, in that sense. And I think for right now it's there's a lot of stuff that's available in streaming, right? Especially the big blockbusters and stuff. But stuff that we show isn't necessarily available online easily. So it's kind of worth making the trek out to either Golden Mile Tower or our new second location in Cine Leisure
Very
on
nice.
Beach Road. Sorry, in Orchard Road.
Orchard
Right,
Road, Cineleisure,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Cheyenne's a big fan. Cheyenne, you've been to the Projector quite a few times. She was telling us about it.
Yes, for a couple movies and quite a few events.
Events.
Yeah.
Both locations or just the one?
I've been to both locations and I've been to the original one. Oh, not the original one. The other one that was also at Riverside at one point.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yes.
we did a couple of pop-ups during COVID.
Oh,
Right.
right,
as well.
okay.
See, she goes all the way back to when you were, 15?
Yeah, I first heard about the projector when I was in secondary school.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm not too
okay.
far off, huh?
Okay. What do you hope to see in the future when it comes to indie film, the indie film industry here in Singapore?
I would say, I think it's about growing the audience. We'd love to see more support for that, both in just general audience appetite for independent film, but also the local independent film scene as well, So I think it's about, continuing to grow the audience and people's tastes, in order to kind of support that. Yeah.
What are the challenges these days when it comes to cinema? Because especially after COVID, right? Everyone just watches everything at
stream it,
home on their TV. They'll wait for a release. They'll purchase it on Apple or something like that.
Yeah.
So what is the cinema industry facing right now that you feel is the biggest challenge?
Oh, I mean, the biggest challenge would be, I think post-COVID fundamentals have shifted. And this is, I'm not represent the entire cinema industry and,
Right.
Operators in Singapore is just my personal opinion. I think fundamentals have shifted in the way that people consume not just film, but also entertainment, right? So actually we're not just competing with the streamers, but we're also competing for people's time. And so social media, it is, work, people are doom scrolling all day or binge watching. I mean, we're all guilty of that, no problem. But what that means is that you've got less time to maybe go out for something like a film. So consumer patterns have changed. And I guess for us, in a way, we're also well positioned for that because, we see our quote unquote product not as just passive consumption of film, but as an experience, right? And so for us, it's about making it worth your while to get out of bed and get out of your home to come and spend a night with us. So, and we do that through, great food. I think we have the best cinema food in Singapore.
What do you guys serve?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
It's like people go nuts over our cinnamon popcorn. We do gourmet hot dogs inspired by various films, pizzas, pasta.
Nice.
You can take them all into cinemas with craft beer and stuff as well. So,
craft beer.
Nice.
it's an excellent date night.
How brilliant is that? And I think that whole cinema experience is, you can't replace that.
No, you can't.
True.
You know what I mean?
But I was going to say that we are so spoiled these days because of streaming platforms. It's everything's on demand. You can skip the credits, you can skip the advertisements and all that, but you can't do that in a cinema. So for these days, I think it really tests someone's patience. For those that are not used to going to the cinema, it is a whole different experience.
Just lazy people.
No, it's true. I mean, come on. How often have you skipped firstly the recap, the credits? I like watching the credits because I like giving credit to the people that I put time in. But a lot of people do.
But
Netflix even allows you to skip that.
Yeah.
But I think there are just some things that, they look great on a TV. But they need to be shown on a massive screen.
I think what is lacking right now is marketing.
Yeah.
I think pre-COVID there was more marketing when it came to cinema, and I'm talking about cinema in general now. But these days,
not much.
Not much. So I'm the kind of person that needs to be reminded.
Yes.
If there's a good movie coming out, I need to be reminded.
I've got a perfect antidote to that. You just sign up to our mailing list. We will remind you.
You always get it. Yeah.
Follow us on IG. We will remind you.
I think it's time to bring cinema back.
Right.
I mean, bring that whole theater experience back. Speaking of which, you've got a Projector exclusive. You're showing the Superman, the Christopher Reeve story.
Yes, that's right.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I was also meant to go for the preview.
That's got to be sad,
of
though.
Anora. You're showing Anora.
We're showing Anora as well. And the Superman, funny story. So, this is typical of our day and our community. It's like, so we, on the weekend, basically, we were showing Superman. We also showed the cult classic old ones as well. And a guy basically dressed up fully as Superman showed up just to watch the film.
Oh, nice. Wow. That's nice.
So it's kind of like, it's just kind of like an example of the quirky sort of community and vibe that we have. And
I'll come down dressed as Superman as well. I was a huge Christopher Reeve fan.
Underwear outside your pants.
Huge. I did that when after watching the Superman movie when I was a kid.
All of us are kids, with the cape and everything, with the
blue shirt, my jeans, and then my red shorts.
I think a lot of boys
I wanted to be
did
Superman. Okay, going back on air one last time. Lady Gaga with Disease right here on Kiss 92. All the great songs in one place. Thank you so much for having us on. It's Glenn, Angel, and the Flying Dutchman with the co-founder of the Projector, Karen Tan. This is part of our series, Her World, Her Spark. And we've been talking about Karen's Spark, the inspiration which made her co-founder of the Projector.
Yeah, speaking of inspiration, if you're inspired to go to the cinema, whether it's this week or this weekend, the Projector is located in two locations. One is at Golden Mile Tower and the other is at Cine Leisure. And they show some exclusive films, like they have the story of Christopher Reeve. It's Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and they're showing a lot of indie films. So you can always go to the projector.sg technology. What's in it for the future of the projector in the coming months and years? Anything exciting you want to share?
Good grief. It's like, this is the toughest question for me because there's always so much going on. But just to name a few, we've got the French Film Festival kicking off. It's the 40th anniversary of that, mid-November. So we're doing like all the cult classics and some modern ones like Amélie, for example. We're also doing anniversary screenings of like Pulp Fiction and
Wow.
When Harry
Nice.
Met Sally. These are like
Wow.
30 and 35 years old by now. So
Yeah.
Love that.
Yes, so we get people bringing their kids now. So we've also got exclusives. So there's something called Zone of Interest. It only took us about a year to get the film rights in. Plenty of films, but also the non-film stuff. I think for us, it's I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, on the 20th of November, we're showing Paris is Burning. And that's going to be tied with a pre-show voguing workshop.
Oh.
And a post-show Q&A and talk by the T Project. And these guys are Singapore's only social service for the transgender community. So this is kind of like just an example of the stuff we get up to. It's not just, film. It's about a lot of other stuff as well.
You had me at voguing workshop.
So going forward, I think for us it's moving further ahead. It's about doing more collaborations. One thing we realized is that Singapore's rent is really expensive, and now that we at Cine Leisure, we've got a lot of space, and we'd like to share that with local businesses. So we're looking to kind of do pop-ups with local retail or maybe home cooks or local F&B that can pop up in our space because it's got good traffic and you're in the center of town. So that's something that we're working on.
Nice.
Cine Leisure. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Yes,
even the
absolutely.
projector, Golden Mile as well is a real experience. We should go.
Yeah, it's the only vintage cinema experience in Singapore.
We should definitely go. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Karen, for joining us today. We'll be in touch. If anything, just let us know what's happening. Let Angel know. She'll let us know
Because apparently I'm the messenger.
yes, you are.
Most definitely.
You're the only one that checks everything.
This is true.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.